All right, guys, we are back for the second part of this section, and today we're talking about identity theft. Okay, identity theft is a huge problem. I have had my identity stolen. My credit card numbers have been stolen a couple of times. My wife's identity was stolen. It is a very, very, very big deal and hits a lot of people. Even if you know what to do to protect yourself, you still have a decently high likelihood of having this happen to you. Now, when we're talking about identity theft, we're talking about PII, or personally identifying information. This can be anything from birth dates to social security numbers to driver's license numbers and passport numbers to credit card numbers to, all that kind of very important private information that, you've heard over and over and over again. You need to protect this. You need to protect this. You need to protect this. That's PII. And people using your PII can commit lots of different kinds of money-making or money-saving frauds. Okay? You can do employment or tax fraud, where essentially they pretend to be you in order to get your tax refund or in order to become an employee at a place where they're not legally allowed to be an employee, right? So maybe a sex offender will steal your identity so they can get a job at a school, or somebody who's been convicted of embezzlement steals your identity to get a job at a bank or something. Credit card fraud is one of the biggest ones. Either they steal your existing credit card accounts, or they get your PII and open up a new credit card account in your name that they can then use. Phone or utilities fraud. This is what happened to my wife. Somebody stole her identity in order to get a utility services set up at her apartment. Bank fraud is essentially, it's very similar to credit card fraud, but you're talking about bank accounts rather than credit card accounts. Health insurance fraud, where people can, go to the hospital and get treated, or go to the doctor's office and get treated for different things, and then stick it on you for the bill. And then another big one that isn't really talked about much is to use your identity to conceal themselves from law enforcement, either because they're on the run from law enforcement, or because they have future plans to do something bad, like a terrorist attack. There's all this fear of oh, terrorists are going to come across our southern border. Terrorists are going to come across our southern border. I don't think we've ever had a terrorist in this country come across any border illegally. They're either here legally, or they stole somebody's identity and pretended to be somebody to come here legally. It's much easier for terrorists to come here via plane flight than it is to walk across the Arizona desert. You know what I mean? So your identity might be used for any one of these frauds, and this is not a complete list. There are other things that people can do with your identity. So this is why your PII is very important, and you need to protect it. Now, once they steal your identity, they can either use your existing accounts, right? So I have one credit card account. I have one bank account. Very, very simple. I keep my financial life very basic. Or they can open a new account, right? They can get my social security number and all the, driver's license number, and then open a credit card in my name, charge however much that the credit card company allows them to charge, and then just never pay the bill. And how are we going to figure out who it was that charged all this money? And, the company's going to come after me, but it wasn't me that charged all that money. A lot of this stuff is not noticed by the victim. Luckily, banks and credit card companies have gotten a lot better at kind of figuring out what's anomalous. So the last time I had my credit card stolen, I was in Georgia at the time, and my credit card company called me on the phone and they said, "Hey, somebody just used your credit card at a Walmart in Kentucky. Was that you?" And I said, no, I'm in Georgia. Why, I didn't use my credit card at Walmart in Kentucky. So they were able to stop it after just that one charge. They canceled that account, sent me a new card with a new number, and I didn't have to worry about that person using my account to charge even more. So these companies have gotten, because they're losing a lot of money on this, it's in their vested interest to make sure that they figure out what's real and what's fake very quickly and stop the fake ones. So they're doing a lot better on that today than they did, 5, 10, 15 years ago. Because of that long, between when your identity is stolen and when you figure out that they have used your stolen identity to do some crime, there is usually a long time period, right? Because of that long time period, it can be very, very difficult to figure out how they stole your PII in the first place. Did they break into your bank's servers? Did you click on a phishing link and accidentally give up some of this information? How did they get a hold of your PII? A lot of times it's impossible to tell. When that person used my credit card number in Kentucky, to this day I have no idea how they got my credit card number. But there are both high-tech and low-tech ways to do it. Okay, the high-tech ways involve, say, breaking into my bank's credit card servers and stealing all their credit card information. Or like Home Depot got hit a few years ago, and all of their customer account information got stolen. So, it might have happened that way. Target, same thing happened at Target. But there are also more low-tech methods. There's things like, if I'm working at a fast food restaurant, somebody drives up, they hand me their credit card, I take their credit card, I swipe it in the machine that does the credit card reading, but then while I'm waiting for the receipt to print out, I put it down in my pocket where there's another credit card reader, I swipe it through there very quietly, very surreptitiously, then bring it back out, get the receipt when it prints out, hand it back to the customer, right? Now I have stolen their credit card information, and they have no idea. Unless, that is one of the reasons why you need to keep an eye on your credit card at all times after you hand it to the person who is to be charging it. This is especially easy to do if you're, say, a waiter, because, we all kind of expect waiters to take our credit card and go off into a place where we can't see them. And if they have our credit card and we can't see them, they can steal it very easily. Other low-tech methods include things like dumpster diving, right? I get credit card offers all the time. I just toss them right in the trash. Somebody can take that out of my trash and fill it out for me, essentially, right? So this is why you need to shred all the documents that you throw away. You need to be very careful with that PII. Shred documents before you throw them away. Don't click on phishing links. You have to be very careful. There was a story, I want to say this was Max Butler, who was a famous credit card number thief and salesman. Max Butler, he hacked into a certain brand of credit card swipey machines that stores would buy these credit card swipey machines and put them next to their registers, and then, swipe customer credit cards. And he figured out a fundamental flaw in how these credit card machines, the swipey machines, communicated over the internet to the, the Visa servers and the MasterCard servers to actually do the transaction. And he could essentially overhear all of these transactions. And so when the swipey machine, it would send all the credit card information to Visa and say, hey, is this a valid credit card number? And he could overhear that and record it. So there's nothing a customer can do to prevent that from happening to them. You just went to the wrong store and swiped your card in, at the wrong place, and there was no way you could have known that the machine that they use to swipe their credit cards had been compromised by a hacker. So even if you do everything right, you can still become a victim, which kind of stinks, but there you are. A lot of these bad guys get so many so many stolen credit card numbers and driver's license numbers and all these things that they can't use them all, right? If I have 1,000,000 stolen credit card numbers, there's no way I'm going to be able to use 1,000,000 stolen credit card numbers. So how can I make money off of these things if there's no way I'm going to use them all? Well, I can sell them off in batches, like batches of 1,000. I can sell 1,000 credit card numbers to this guy and 1,000 credit card numbers to that guy, and then they can make money off of it, and everybody makes money except for the credit card companies. So they started up these carding markets. They're essentially websites where you can go and create an account just like you would on eBay or Amazon or whatever, and then buy credit card numbers, or driver's license numbers, or passport numbers, or whatever. And they will sell you all of that PII that comes along with all these accounts. And then you can make either fake credit cards, fake physical credit cards, which really isn't that hard to do, or you can use those credit card numbers to purchase online goods or whatever. And these carding market websites are incredibly professional. They have, all of the kind of fun features that you expect from places like Amazon and Etsy and eBay. They have, right? So they have like verified sellers, right? This person has proven that they're a good salesman. They have their wares that they're selling. Their credit card numbers are actually valid credit card numbers. The buyers who buy can rate the seller, 5 stars, would buy from again, just like a freaking Uber, right? And they also have escrow accounts, right? A lot of these illegal markets will have these escrow accounts where essentially what happens is the buyer sends money to some third party. Then the seller ships the product to the buyer. And once the buyer says, yes, the product has arrived, it's as advertised, I like this product, the third party sends the money to the seller. That way, if the product is never sent, or there's some problem on either the buyer or seller's part, that third party can kind of determine what should happen to that money. Should the money go back to the buyer because they never received their product, or should it go to the seller because the buyer's lying about this or that? But it's that third person, that trusted third party, is a very big part of these underground markets. Okay. Laws, all 50 states have laws against identity theft. It is illegal in every single state. It is also a federal offense. So if you get caught committing identity theft, not only can you be tried in state court, they might send you all the way up to federal court. The exact level of punishment varies state by state. It also varies based on how many identities you've stolen and how much money you've stolen and all these things. But it's usually a felony, especially if you steal a lot of identities or if you steal a lot of money from one identity. It's usually a felony, meaning many years in prison. You can also be ordered to pay restitution, right? So if you steal tens of thousands of dollars, you can be ordered by law to repay tens of thousands of dollars. And if you don't have tens and thousands of dollars, they can do things like garnish your wages. So every time you get a paycheck from then on until you get it paid back, they will take 50% of it and give it to your victims. So who investigates? Who's responsible for investigating and going after these criminals? Well, the Secret Service is a big one. I mentioned them earlier. They have jurisdiction over all financial crimes, and a lot of these are financial crimes, right? Like credit card fraud, bank fraud, all those things, financial crimes. Selling counterfeit goods, especially counterfeit currency, that's all the Secret Service, right? The FBI, they have a big focus on identity theft, and they also have a big focus on terrorism, which both of those are very conjoined here with this economic fraud stuff. ICE and CBP, they have to get into this a lot because a lot of the times either the money or the products that are being illegally bought and sold are either coming in from out of the country or they're leaving our country and going somewhere else, right? So as soon as anything gets imported or exported, those two have have a very big part to play in investigating and catching the bad guys for those crimes. In the UK, they have the National Crime Agency, and underneath that National Crime Agency, there's the National Cybercrime Unit. And they have the jurisdiction to investigate all of these cyber frauds, economic crime stuff in the UK. So, that's the end of the section. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.